right. I think we're live. I always say that because I never know for sure. So how's it going, guys? Yeah. What's going on? Today we're going to be tackling streams on delay. Yeah, obviously. So today we're going to be tackling some frequently asked questions, some things that I have been asked by you guys quite a lot, actually. Sorry if I'm looking over here. I'm looking at the comments. No, I should be looking at the camera. So, first of all, as we wait for people to show up, I'm going to share this around the internet. Let's do what we always do. As I say always do. We did it one time, I think. Yeah, so what comics have you guys been reading, and what should I be reading, because I am not reading that many current comic books at the moment. Let me share this really quickly. Alright, just on Twitter. Hey! Alright, I'm gonna add a few more mods because apparently we're having a big problem. Also, Dylan, I'm making you a mod because you're like one of the only people here that I actually know. But did you know that there are people here? I've been getting lots of comments from saying that you have been abusing your power. I don't know why. They haven't explained how, but I just wanted to make you aware of that, I guess. I mean, obviously, I think it's fine, or else I wouldn't have made you a mod again. Alright, let me just share it again. Nope, wrong thing. Alrighty. Well, we still do Periscopes. I mean, I didn't do one last week. We'll do one when Comic Misconception returns. So, I like Periscopes too. They're way easier to set up. I just hit a button. With this stuff, I have to do all sorts of crazy, weird internet things. Yeah. See, a lot of the questions that are being asked right now are questions that I get frequently asked. So, we'll talk about some of this stuff. Let me actually add one question in, because I just remembered one. Sorry, my microphone is in the way of my keyboard. I should also turn off notifications. I am so prepared at this live stream thing. Alright. So let's get started, guys. What's my favorite color? That's the one that I get asked all the time. It's green. It's like an olive green. Yeah. I don't know why I really like it. So, let's talk about some frequently asked questions that have happened here for Comic Misconceptions and NerdSync in general. Mostly Comic Misconceptions, though, I think. And it's just going to be a lot. It's really three main questions that I get a lot of the time. And I'm actually trying to make this video as a way of, if anybody asks these in the future, I can point them towards this, so I don't have to explain myself each and every time. Efficiency. So, first and foremost, this is for you guys who have kind of been with NerdSync for a really long time. You may have remembered we did a segment on Comic Misconceptions called the Weekly Trivia Challenge, and one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, what happened to the Weekly Trivia Challenge? Why is it gone? Why don't you put it in the videos anymore? I've got a couple moderators. Is it still too crazy? I think it looks fine. But yeah, so people have said, Scott, why don't you do the Weekly Trivia Challenge anymore? And there are a couple reasons for this. So how it used to work is I would just grab a random piece of trivia and throw it in there. And yeah, that proved kind of a bad formula because I would basically be wasting other video opportunities that I could do. So I was like, all right, well then maybe I will instead change it so that it's a trivia question that links up, that's going to, I guess, feed into the next week's episode. So that's kind of like a teaser for like, this is a question about Thor, and the answer is going to be related to the next video that's going to be about Thor. That proved difficult too, because I was never scheduling anything, so there were tons of times where I would schedule I would do a trivia challenge question for the last episode, and then I would change my mind for the following week and be like, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I want to talk about something else, but I'm kind of locked in because I made this trivia challenge thing. So both options were just not working for me. I didn't think either one of them was effective at all. Plus, it got to the point as well where the main reason I do this is so I can have conversations with people in the comments, and like all I was getting instead of comments about the actual episode, were comments about just the answer to the trivia question. And so I was like, I can't start conversations from this. And I'm like, this is super counterproductive. So yeah, that's basically the reason why we got rid of the trivia challenge. So to answer that question, no, it's not coming back to Comic Misconceptions. But if you didn't know this, we have a podcast called the NerdSync Podcast, available on iTunes and SoundCloud and Stitcher and all those places. And that has occasionally we do a full trivia challenge episode, which is like an hour or so of comic book trivia. So if you want to check that out, that's where you can get your fix of the trivia challenge. It didn't go away. It just changed into the podcast. It did leave Comic Misconceptions because I like the format better without it. So, plus I actually saw the retention time on YouTube. If you don't know this, YouTube measures how people are watching and when they drop off of your video. And as soon as the trivia challenge bumper played, it was like, it just plummeted. So I was like, I'll just cut it out of there and see what happens, and it's been pretty good. So, yeah. Thank you. Nice shirt. I know. It's a good one. So, yeah. That is why that happened. That is why the trivia challenge does not exist on Comic Misconceptions anymore. So, oh, here's a good question, kind of side question. Why can't the NerdSync podcast be downloaded on SoundCloud? A few episodes can, but my biggest thing is it's hard to measure. I love analytics, so it's really hard to measure analytics for plays if it's downloaded, but if it's streamed, then I get all the accurate data. So I guess that's the reason why. Yeah. I don't know. Plus, it's just kind of like a whole thing about, I don't know. I just don't really, I never saw the need for it to be downloaded. So, that's I know that people want it to be, but streaming is fine for me. But a few episodes can be downloaded, so. Alright. Let's talk about the next one, which is probably the most frequently asked question of all time, which is actually not one single question. It's actually just a collective of questions. It's the phrase like, do a video on ... or, something along those lines. Make a Deadpool video. Do a Vision video. Do a video on the question. Like, these are things that aren't necessarily questions, they're more like commands, but yeah, I feel like, yeah, well, the podcast can be downloaded, to go back to the other question, the podcast can be downloaded on iTunes. It can be downloaded there, just not SoundCloud. So, anyway, yeah, to go back to the thing, these are more just, yeah, so everyone's saying, do a video on blank character, and that doesn't really help me at all. That doesn't tell me anything at all. So if you just say like, hey, do a Deadpool video, that tells me nothing. That tells me nothing. What am I supposed to do with that? Like, that is so broad that I'm not even going to write it down, because I can't make an episode just on that generically broad concept. I need way more information. Like, if you want an episode made about a topic that you suggested, which I have done before many times, you gotta be more specific. You have to be as specific as you possibly can. And it also has to just be a really good fit with the channel in general. I mean, something other things that people comment is like, hey, do like a top 10 most underrated heroes. That's not really me. That doesn't sound like content that NerdSync does. We don't really do top 10 or top 5 lists anymore. We are doing one this week, but it's kind of got a twist to it. But yeah, other than if it's just like a top 10 most underrated heroes or whatever, what's the value in that? Like, what do you learn from that? I would say nothing. So I would say no, probably not going to be doing that. Same thing with origin stories, people saying to do an origin story of certain characters. Again, that's not what I do. Real origins are about as close as I get. And if you want just regular origin stories, there are plenty of other comic book channels. Pretty much all of them do origin stories of certain characters. You can go ask them, just don't ask me. Same with the very last thing, I think, is just talking about complete stories of things. People who are saying, like, can you go over Crisis on Infinite Earths, or can you go over Old Man Logan or something? Again, I've never once done a complete story thing in my entire career of NerdSync. Why would I start now? It just doesn't seem to fit with the channel. So I guess the whole thing here is that there seems to be some sort of expectation for comic book channels that they have to fit into a specific mold of you have to do top 10 lists, you have to do origins, you have to do complete stories. And so it's just weird to me that all of that is kind of thrust upon me like, oh, you're a comic book channel, so you have to do those things. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do those things. I'm just going to do my own thing. So, yeah. Why not something different? Alright then. Let's just go back to the comments, because I feel like I've been ignoring some of the comments. But does that make sense at all where I'm coming from? Yeah. Exactly. Go to Comic Story and go to other people. Comics Explained. Eris does the history of videos. He's even doing full stories now. So plenty of options to choose from for style. If you want, the voiceover thing, if you want like a person, the talking head type of thing. Yeah, I mean, plenty of styles to choose from, plenty of people. So there you go. See, perfect example of this. Someone just wrote Adamantium family ? If that's a question directed at me, I have no idea what that means. Do I know Comic Historian? Yeah, he's been on the podcast before. I've been on the Weekly Poll before. We met at VidCon. We had dinner. Yeah, I know Comic Historian. What software do I use to make awesome thumbnails? Photoshop. I've been doing Photoshop for years, ever since I was a freshman in high school, and Photoshop was pretty basic back then. Do an origin story. Thanks, Eris. You're the best. Oh boy. Oh boy. So now I'm going to make you a mod just so I can give you power. You don't actually have to do anything, but you have all the power now to do whatever you want. I would say NerdSync had a date with the Comic Historian team. Not specifically, I had a date with Benny. It was all of us together. It was a huge group of people. So, yeah. Somebody asked earlier if I was going to the Baltimore Comic-Con. I have passes to it. I just haven't bought tickets or booked a hotel, like plane tickets or booked a hotel yet. And I feel like I'm waiting until the very last minute, and it's going to get really pricey. So, I don't know. Maybe. All right. What are some other things? Yeah, I know. See, that was something Penny told me that basically all of the comic book YouTuber people were going to be there, so I should be there. So, maybe, yeah, I feel like I do want to go. I just felt like I was still a little worn out from VidCon to want to go travel on a plane again. Ugh. But, yeah, I'll probably go. I mean, I got passes and everything, so I might as well. Yeah. Alright, let's tackle the next thing. This is another frequently asked question. That's the topic today, obviously. So here's one that I get all the time, which is, will you ever tackle non-DC or non-Marvel, non-DC comic book topic video things? And so I do. I frequently tackle videos that aren't specifically Marvel or DC, but people seem to ignore those and just focus on the Marvel and DC things. But if you're talking about specific characters and stories that aren't Marvel and DC, I have done that in the past. Again, I am planning on doing it some more in the future, but to me, publisher is completely irrelevant. I don't sit down and schedule videos based on like, all right, I have to have a Marvel video, I have to have a DC video, and it has to alternate, and I have to do this and that. Completely off the table. I don't even consider it to be a factor in what videos I do. It's just my main goal is that I want to tell the stories that I think are worth telling, and I want to, make videos that I think are worth making. And the easiest way, because the whole goal of NerdSync is to help people learn through comic books, and I feel like if we start with a character that's pretty well known, like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or something, then there's a lot of shortcuts I can take where I don't have to explain who the character is. I can just go, you guys know who Batman is. Let's talk about this interesting concept regarding Batman's whole history and all that stuff. So I think that's basically why I stick with a lot, mainly Marvel and DC, because it's just easier. I mean, the goal is to make learning more accessible, and I feel like it's a lot simpler to do that if we start from a place where people know who the characters I'm talking about are. I am going to be talking about other non-Marvel, non-DC stuff in this coming season of Comic Misconceptions, but again, that was totally not me going out and going, all right, I need one that's not Marvel, that's not DC. It was just, I thought they were really, really interesting, really cool stuff, and I added them to the list. So, again, has absolutely, publisher does not have any effect on it at all. So, indie comics are great. I love indie comics. I love a ton of, like Image and I don't see, that's the thing. I don't even know what's even considered indie anymore, because I feel like they're all, some of the publishers like, Image and Dark Horse and all that, and all them are, and Valiant are becoming a little bit more mainstream. So I don't know. I mean, if you're just talking about specifically non-Marvel, non-DC, then I get it. But I do like a lot of, I still read every week. I still read comic books that aren't superhero related. It's just a lot of good stuff. So I just think Marvel and DC starts from a place that's easier to, start off from, so that people know these characters already, know these worlds already. So cool. So I hope that answers those questions. Those are basically the three big questions that I get all the time. I'm sure I'll probably do a part 2 when I think of some more, a part 2 of frequently asked questions. But let's see. In the meantime, we've got about 10 or so more minutes, so let's just do some Q&A here right now in the comments section. Have I ever seen Teen Wolf? The show or the movie? Either one is no. I don't know why I had to clarify if both the answers were going to be no. Any more collaborations? A lot. I'm actually really, really excited for one of them that'll be coming up, I think, in the next few weeks. I don't know when it will go live, but it's going to be really fun. Hail Hydra. Hail Hydra. What's the thing they do? Is it this? Hail Hydra. My favorite comic tuber. Oh man, you're putting me on the spot. I guess they really do. Well, is the Comic Tubers is that a specific branded name for just the Weekly Poll guys, or is that for everybody who does comic book stuff on the internet? Because if it's just any comic book YouTuber, then I would say my favorite is myself. No. Well, obviously I'm a huge fan of Eris because he's here in the comments, and if I don't say that, he'll be mad at me. No, I love Mr. Sunday. He's great. He's one of my favorite people. And yeah, I just love everybody's great, I think. But the people that I actually watch regularly would have to be Mr. Sunday. I watch basically everything he does. And then, yeah, variants and there's got to be some other ones too, right? I don't know. I'm not super connected into the comic book YouTuber place. I don't really watch a lot of other people, so. Yeah, he's a great one. Mr. Sunday. But yeah. So here's another frequently asked question I get, which is why I'm not on the weekly poll more often. It's because they don't invite me. Like that's I don't have control over that. They just don't invite me. So, for whatever reason, which I mean, no hard feelings. Game Theory's great. Not a comic book tuber, I would say, but love Game Theory, love PBS Idea Channel. If we're just listing channels that I really like, Game Theory, PBS Idea Channel. What are some other ones that I really enjoy? Wisecrack, especially Earthling Cinema, and 8-Bit Philosophy. All of those are great. So those are my 3 channels that I think you should check out. Wisecrack, if you haven't subscribed to Game Theory. Cracked is great as well. So a lot of good stuff. Yeah. How much we got? Got a couple more minutes. Let's do it. Good Mythical Morning I am subscribed to. Though I don't watch every single... It's one of those channels that publishes so often that I just can't watch every single video they do. I'll do like one a week or so. In honor of Sammy's latest video, do I have any tattoos? I don't. I am the kind of person who, if it's not completely perfect, then it's going to be a permanent fixture on my body and it will drive me crazy for the rest of my life. So I can't commit to that. No tattoos for me. I do want one, though. It's kind of a paradox in my head that I really, really want one. But how much philosophy have I studied? Officially studied? None. Well, I had a philosophy class in college, but I really didn't pay attention at all. I like reading books about philosophy and listening to podcasts about philosophy and watching videos about philosophy. I think philosophy is super interesting, and it's really fun to say really fast like I just did. Philosophy. No, it's really interesting stuff. I'm actually listening to, there's a book right now called The Consolations of Philosophy. It's really, really good. And the first chapter alone, I made kind of a video about over on my vlog channel about Socrates. I feel like I've been channeling Socrates a lot lately. Because one of his whole things was that he would try to kind of define what the world was. Like if someone used a term like justice, he would be like, well, what is that? And he would try to ask questions and try to come up with like a base meaning for everything. And I've been doing that a lot lately, trying to find out what the core definitions of certain terms are that people use, because his whole thing was like, he doesn't think that people know what the words they are using mean. And he's trying to define those elements of life, and I think it's really, really fascinating. So, good stuff. How do you get people to stick around to the end of your videos? I don't know. The end of my videos are usually for newcomers. If you are a person who has already subscribed to the channel, then you probably won't watch the end of the videos because it's kind of the same thing every time. It's where I kind of pitch the overall value of the channel, and it allows for me to be like, if this is your first time, that's why I started off by saying, like, if this is your first time hanging out with us, this is what you need to know about our channel, and if that's interesting, please subscribe. But if people are already subscribed, then I don't really expect them to watch the end of the video. It's great if you do. It helps the retention time, which is awesome. So if you want to like mute it and let it play out for the rest of the thing, that would be amazing if you would do that. It really helps us out, actually. So, yeah. Do I think Civil War will affect the Marvel Netflix series? Yes. I want it to, at least. I don't know if it will, but I really, really want it to. I think that would be really fun. Jessica Jones video. I didn't schedule one for Jessica Jones because I couldn't think of one. Again, that goes back to the idea of you got to give me a more specific topic to tackle. But yeah, I did not schedule a Jessica Jones video. I should have, but I didn't. And I also didn't know, well, because I was scheduling stuff weeks ago, and they just announced when it was going to be debuting. So yeah, I had no idea. Let's see. What? Why are you fighting Comic Pop in the weekly poll? I'm not. I don't know why everyone thinks there's some drama between the weekly poll and NerdSync, but apparently there is. Will you do Comic Misconceptions about more artists and writers and how they got started? Probably not. I mean, it's not scheduled, at least. I mean, that sounds like something somebody else could do, right? We have so many new shows going on right now. It's actually super overwhelming, and I'm trying to schedule everything without losing my mind, and I've had to redo it about 1,000,000 times. So, as of right now, no. Maybe in the future, sure. I don't really know. Can't make any promises, though. Thoughts about quantum mechanics? I got a book, actually. Here, let me get it really quickly. Called The Amazing Story of Quantum Mechanics, which is a math-free exploration of the science that makes our world. I haven't actually started reading it because I got it right after the She-Hulk video, or the Scarlet Witch video that I did. I got it right after that, and I was like, I really wish I had this beforehand. But I am going to start reading it soon, and hopefully it will be really, really fun. I used to be a math person, but I used to be really good at math. But then my brother, who's older than me, became super good at math. And we have this thing called transactive memory, which makes it so that if your friends or your family or just somebody that you know is really, really good at something, then you don't, or like they're really knowledgeable at something or about something, then you don't store any more information about that thing in your head. Because why would you? If you have a friend who knows a lot about cars and you personally aren't super into cars, then why would you store information about cars in your head when you can just ask your friend? It's the same thing for phones in Google. Like, why would you store certain information in your head if I could just look? Why would I need to memorize all the United States presidents if I could just look it up on my phone? So that was a long-winded way of saying that I used to be good at math. I can't do math anymore, which is why I like the math-free exploration of quantum mechanics in this book. So hopefully that'll be fun. Did I have fun on the podcast so I recorded another person's podcast again yesterday. I was told it was only going to go for about 45 minutes. It ended up going for 3 hours. So that was the one thing where I was like, I really wish I knew that ahead of time because I had stuff to do. And yeah, so but it was fun. When you listen to it, I'll probably tweet it out. But if you listen to it, I'll start off really talkative in the beginning, and then at about hour 3, I just stop talking because I'm just like, I just want it to end. I just want to leave now. I actually do not remember what the podcast is called, so that's how good. It was very last minute. It was like, hey, you want to do this podcast? I said no initially, but then I was coaxed into it, so then I did it. When did you get the idea to integrate... Oh, crap, I missed it. Psychology into your videos. That was, I think that might have started with the Dr. Doom video about whether or not he has body dysmorphia disorder. And I thought that was really, really interesting. I think it really is the moment when Comic Misconceptions kind of became Comic Misconceptions. So, or at least when NerdSync became NerdSync. And... yeah, I think that's how it started, and then it just got to the point where I was listening to a ton of like podcasts and reading lots of articles and watching lots of videos about psychology. And again, I had a psychology class in college, but I did pretty terrible at it. So I don't know what it is about school that makes learning for me just not work. But as soon as I'm out of school and I can kind of apply some psychological and philosophical concepts to things that I actually care about, like comic books, for example, then learning is so much easier and so much more fun. And that's kind of the point of what I wanted NerdSync to be, is to kind of make learning more accessible. Because I can only learn through comic books and movies and stuff like that. I cannot learn through school. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Yeah. We'll do 3 more questions. That's what we're going to do. 3 more questions, and then I do have to get some work done. So I apologize for this one being a little bit shorter than normal. A theory on why superheroes wear spandex? Probably because it's kind of lightweight, easily maneuverable, stretches, form-fitting. I don't know. I really don't know. If I had to go into like the history of why, I would have to assume that it's probably just because... well, I'm thinking of the Circus Strongman thing, but that's the trunks on the outside of the pants. I don't know. I really don't know. Somebody asked the same thing about capes. Why capes? Which I thought about doing a very... yeah, I feel like spandex is super easy to draw. That's a good point. That's a good point. Because you can just draw just like a body and then just add lines like here, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's wearing spandex. You know? So, good point. Or like gloves or something, yeah. No capes. Coke or Pepsi? Here's the thing. I love Pepsi a lot. I grew up on Pepsi. But, for some reason, Coke Zero is my go-to drink. Not Coke. Don't like Coke. Coke Zero, though. Love it. Thoughts about the Joker? He's fun. That's not going to count as a question. I think we have like one question left, but the Coke Pepsi one was kind of like a... yeah. No, but Dr. Pepper's really good too. Dr. Pepper's one of the only drinks I can actually remember the first time I drank it, and it still has... It's still really great. Deadpool movie thoughts. I've been talking about this a lot lately. I'm actually going to talk about this on not this Monday's podcast, but not tomorrow's podcast rather, but the next week is going to be about... it's very loosely centered around... I think I'm going to title it something like how the Deadpool movie will save comic book movies, the comic book movie genre. So as you might know, I'm going to get to you, True Blue Sonic fan. As you know, as you may or may not know, I don't really care for Deadpool in the comics, but I've been saying this a lot. I think it's super, super important that all of us, even if you don't like Deadpool like myself, you have to go see the Deadpool movie because it's going to be something that's so different. It's going to be, you know, the hard R rating. It's going to be, you know, kind of a newer-ish character who's kind of with a comic book accurate costume, breaking the fourth wall. It's going to be something that is basically supposed to be like the best kind of, hopefully, you know, the best kind of comic book movie that's even if it's not great, and the movie is terrible and you still don't like Deadpool or whatever, go see the movie, because it's so important that you go support movies, comic book movies that are trying something new and trying something different, because if you don't, then all we're going to get is the same cookie cutter stuff. Because if the Deadpool movie does terrible, then all the movie studios are going to say, well, we're just going to go back to doing what we used to do. Remember Wolverine Origins? We'll do that some more. And go see Deadpool. I don't like Deadpool. I'm going to see Deadpool multiple times just so I can support this movie. So that's my thing. A lot of people are asking about Doctor Who. Yes, I watch Doctor Who. This will be the last question. I do watch Doctor Who. I've got sonic screwdrivers up on the shelves back there, as always. So, and I am going to be doing a, maybe, fingers crossed, I'm going to be doing a Doctor Who video of Comic Misconceptions, because there is a comic book related thing with Doctor Who that I wanted to talk about that my friend Ricky brought attention to me. Is that grammar? I don't know. You know what I'm saying. He brought that to my attention. There we go. So that'll be fun. It'll be neat. I want to talk about some, I don't know, I won't say what specifically, because again, I don't know if I haven't researched it yet, so I don't know if it'll actually work for an episode, but it's planned. If it doesn't work out, then I'll have to find something else. But so again, I am trying to tackle more non-Marvel, non-DC stuff, and Doctor Who is one of them. There's at least one more that I can think of off the top of my head for Comic Misconceptions specifically. We're going to get more super suits, probably some alter egos, all the other things that aren't Marvel or DC. So we're going to be seeing a more broad range of comics publishers on NerdSync. But again, we don't sit down and say, we have to do a Marvel one this week, we have to do a DC one this week. It's just whatever stories we want to tell that we think are worth telling. So, yeah, that's how it works. Thanks, guys, so much for joining for this week. It was pretty fun. So, thank you for all of your questions. And I hope the frequently asked questions were good, they made sense, and I really hope the whole point of this video was so that I can point people to this video if they ask questions in the future. I hope you understand why, number one, there's no trivia challenge on Comic Misconceptions anymore, but we did move it to the podcast. It's still there. We did one very recently. We've done, I think, 5 or 6 of them at this point, so go check those out. And also, if you're going to suggest a video, make sure it's very specific, and it's not just like do a video on Huntress or something, because that doesn't tell me anything. I need to know. There have been tons of people who have suggested very specific topics, and I thought, yes, that's a great idea, and I wrote it down and I made the video about it. So, and I also hope you understand why I tackle mostly Marvel and DC stuff. Not intentional, just I think the characters are more well known, and it's easier to start from there. So, fantastic. I will see you guys next time, probably next Sunday, if we continue to do these on Sundays, for another one of these live stream things. And now I have to figure out how to end it. Probably this button?